Hello there guys, my name is MrYorkiesWorld, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing Aerosoft's Mega Airport Rome, or LIRF, Lima India Romeo Foxtrot, also known as Leonardo da Vinci Airport, which was very kindly provided to me for free by flightsim.com to review. Now this is a piece of scenery that I've been waiting to explore and waiting to review for some time now, and I am really grateful for flightsim.com as always, and I will provide a link to the scenery itself and to the flightsim.com website in the video description. So, as with any scenery review, the best place to start is with compatibility, and I'm happy to say that this scenery works great in P3D version 4.5. And it also does say that it's compatible with FSX and obviously earlier versions of P3D as well, so you shouldn't have any issues there. Dynamic lighting is also supported as well, thanks to the latest update, which is currently, at the time of making this video, which is the 23rd of May 2019, version 1.04. Now, if you do have an earlier version, users of the Mega Airport Rome for FS 2004 do have the possibility now of upgrading, basically at a discounted price. So I'd definitely check that out if you have an earlier version of the scenery from Aerosoft. It's a really nice thing for them to do, and they do the same thing with quite a few different types of sceneries as well. You can always get some sort of discount if you've already got a previous version of a particular piece of scenery. So it's always good to be able to upgrade and not have to pay the full price. Now, me personally, I've always been a huge fan of Aerosoft products, from their aircraft to the scenery. I've always been really impressed, and Mega Airport Rome continues to do that here. Despite the fact that the airport is actually not as complex as you would think, there is still quite a lot of detail in there, which makes it very enjoyable as a piece of scenery to use in a simulator. So let's talk about a few of those different things. Now, as you know, we did recently do a flight into this scenery for the very first time on the channel. It was a full flight video from Stockholm to Rome with Scandinavian Airlines flight 1841. You can also find the link to that video in the description of this one, by the way, if you're interested in watching that. Now, the weather on the flight, or the weather on the approach for that video was actually quite cloudy. It was very foggy and rainy. However, we did get to see a first glimpse of the scenery, which personally I was quite impressed by. And then I later decided to record some cinematics of the airport in sort of a different weather, so it was a little bit clearer, and it allowed me to get a much better set of cinematic views of the airport for review purposes, which I thought this is absolutely fantastic. Straight away from these cinematics, you can see the level of detail is actually quite high. We do have reflections on the runway, which is something that I really like to see. And the taxiway markings, the signage, the gates and stuff like that, everything to do with the textures appears to be really well designed. I believe the texture resolutions are 2048 by 2048. Now, I've taken the liberty of looking for some real-world shots of the airport, and if I compare the sim version with real life, you can definitely see that it does have a very close resemblance to the real-world shots, and Aerosoft have put a lot of work into fine-tuning things to look as realistic and as close to the real thing as they possibly can. Again, those textures themselves for both the airport grounds and some of the surrounding areas are 2048 by 2048 resolution, which is nice. Although some of the grassy areas I found around the airport, they do appear to be a little bit blurry. Personally, that's not something that is really an issue for me. It doesn't really bother me at all, because I tend to focus more on the airport, the runways and the taxiways and the gates. I'm not really bothered about the surrounding areas and stuff like that. So unless you really care about those sorts of things, then it's not really going to be an issue for you. Speaking of surrounding areas, the scenery does actually contain surrounding objects, not just sort of photoreal landscaping or whatever. It does have photoreal objects as well as airport-based objects. Now, these help to make things look a little bit better and feel more realistic, and I think Aerosoft pay a lot of attention to detail here to try and make the scenery look sort of majestic, if you will, realistic, and as close to that real thing as you can possibly get. Again, that's something I've always loved about Aerosoft. I think they're absolutely fantastic when it comes to making things look very realistic. Now, another great thing is the scenery itself is fully compatible with all major traffic add-ons. Now, what I mean by that is add-ons such as Pro ATCX and Ultimate Traffic Live. These are two add-ons that I use in combination because I don't actually fly online due to my own personal reasons. Now, it adds that extra little bit of immersiveness, if you will, to any flight. And for an airport to be fully compatible with anything like that, that's the icing on the cake. That is definitely the icing on the cake for me. Now, on to night lighting. This is another important part of any piece of scenery. Night lighting, specifically in versions 4 upwards of P3D, where you've got the dynamic lighting. You can see from the cinematics, the night lighting really does look great, and Aerosoft has actually said on their website that according to pilot's point of view, this is what it should look like. This is realistic. Again, based on real-world pilot opinion and point of view. So you can bet that it looks pretty similar in real life to what you're going to see in the simulator. And again, that just helps to add an extra level of immersion to the whole experience, whether or not you're flying in the daytime, the nighttime, or whatever. It definitely adds that extra little bit of immersion. Now, another one of the most important parts of any scenery review for flight sim scenery is performance. Now, I'm happy to say the performance at LIRF in the daytime is between 55 and 60 FPS, mainly towards the 60 area, I would say, and in nighttime, dropping a little bit to between 45 and 60. So not really that bad compared to some scenery add-ons, and considering the amount of detail in this scenery, it's not the smallest of airports in the world. It is quite a big airport with a few runways. It's pretty good going, and it really does look quite good in the sim in both nighttime and daytime, and it really performs well. Now, one good point to remember is that my system is running an Intel Core i9 9900K CPU along with 16GB of RAM and the GeForce GTX 1080 Ti graphics card, which could be some of the main reasons that my FPS is quite high. And another thing to take into account is obviously the fact that I run P3D V4.5 on a separate dedicated solid-state drive. All of these factors are important when comparing your performance and experience in the simulator to another person's experience, as hardware can definitely make a difference. So moving on to the system requirements then, as per the Aerosoft website. So they recommend that you have Flight Simulator X, Service Pack 2 or Acceleration Pack, or Lockheed Martin's Prepared version 3 or version 4. Not a problem for me because I've got version 4.5, that's no problem whatsoever. The download size itself is about 480 megabytes and the final installation size is a gigabyte. Not too bad at all. Windows XP /Vista /7, 8 or 10, and it does say fully updated, so they would recommend that you have all the updates and everything. It does say that you are required, no, not required, but recommended to have a 3 GHz dual-core processor at minimum, a 2 GB RAM or 4 GB recommended, 3D graphics card with minimal 1024 MB or 2 GB recommended. Nothing in there shouts or screams absolutely unbelievably monstrous PC. You don't actually need something that is huge on power to be able to run this airport. Again, that's something I really enjoy with any piece of scenery, is if you can use it without actually having to break the bank on not only the scenery but also the hardware to run that scenery. So that's a positive. It's always a positive. Again, I decided to get some cinematic views from the daytime, the evening, and the nighttime in this review, in these cinematics, just to make sure everything's covered. I have to say it's been a fantastic piece of scenery to fly into in the simulator, even though I've only done it that once so far. And it's a fantastic piece to review. This is probably going to be one of the quickest reviews I have done in a very, very long time. But then again, what more can you do in a scenery review? Again, I would like to thank my friends over at flightsim.com for giving me the opportunity to have this piece of scenery and to review it for free. I'll be posting a written piece of this review as well as this video, the link to which will be in the video description. And I will be giving this scenery overall a rating of 9 out of 10. It performs great both in daytime and nighttime and even in bad weather, and it's definitely a perfect digital replica of the real-world airport. I found it really immersive with the surrounding scenery as well, and the only negative that I would have to say would be the blurry textures in certain parts, mainly the grassy areas. Again, that's not something which I don't think is very important, not to me anyway. It might even be down to sim settings rather than anything else, but that's basically it. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and as ever, you can find all of the links, the relevant links, including the links to the flightsim.com store and the flightsim.com website, and to this product on the flightsim.com store in the description, should you wish to purchase it. If you like this video, give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.